It's been 2 years since the start of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. When the invasion began in February of 2022, a lot of people predicted it might take as few as 3 days for Russian forces to capture the capital city of Kyiv. Sadly, it's still happening in 2024. And since the start of the war, there has been more than 30,000 civilian casualties. This morning, we're speaking with one of the witnesses in Ukraine the day the Russians invaded. Please welcome to the show retired U.S. Colonel Joe Pacino. Thank you so much for coming in. Where were you when the invasion started?
I was on the border between Ukraine and Poland. And we were there with the NATO reassurance mission. Basically, we were there in the event that Russia just plowed through Kyiv in 3 or 4 days, which is what we thought was going to happen,
Right.
that we would deter. So we would tell Putin, don't come into Poland, don't invade a NATO country next.
2 years later, did you think it'd still be going on, the invasion?
No, I thought it would be over very quickly. I thought they'd have Kyiv, they'd have all of the surrounding cities in the south and the northeast, and I've been wrong about every aspect of this, frankly.
So where are we with the fighting right now? We see video daily, more aid is being called for. Where is the fighting right now?
Not good. So, we underestimated the capabilities of Ukraine originally. Okay, their fighting capabilities, their will, their resolve, their ability to adapt to the battlefield. But we've also, in the past year, underestimated the ability of Russia to adapt to the fighting. And now Russia can just throw mass, throw force, throw tanks at this thing. They have an overwhelming capability, an overwhelming advantage in terms of size, speed, technological advantages. They just have a lot on top of Ukraine, and we're not able to get the weapons in. It's hung up here in this town in D.C. Not a good situation. So
this is a grim outcome then for Ukraine, is what you're seeing.
It's a grim outcome. I hope they can hold on this calendar year and try to force it into 2025.
Why is that important? If they could force it into 2025, what happens then?
Well, the longer you can hold Ukraine, the longer you can bleed Russia out, the longer you can hold Russia, the better the chances you can force Putin to some kind of negotiated settlement. Right now, he is not incentivized to negotiate. He's just incentivized to keep the war going and to collapse Ukraine.
Which brings us to aid from the U.S. I know a lot of times we're hearing Ukraine needs more aid. A lot of people rolling their eyes saying more money. How much more is it going to take? Of course, the battle continuing on Capitol Hill. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one thing that's being misunderstood here is almost all of that money is actually spent in the United States. So you think about the Switchblade drones that we're sending to Ukraine. They're made in California. The tanks, they're made in Lima, Iowa. All of that money is really spent in the U.S. to make those weapons and those capabilities, those tanks that go into Ukraine. That's part of the aspect that's lost in this discussion.
So bottom line it for us, what does it mean if Ukraine cannot hold on and Russia then is able to take control of Ukraine? Bottom line it for us on a more global scale, what does that mean?
Well, Putin's not going to stop there. Think about the last 2 weeks that Putin's had. His biggest critic is dead. Okay, he took a town, Advika, which is the biggest loss or gain by either side in Ukraine in more than a year. He had this fawning interview with Tucker Carlson, who's a national figure. His preferred presidential candidate, Donald Trump, is on the rise. I think this is a big moment for him. He is not going to stop at Ukraine. I believe he's going to invade a NATO country next.
All right. Joe Pacino, thank you so much for that. It's so complex. I wish we had more time, but unfortunately, with the calling time on me here. Thank you for your insight. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you back. And there's information on your screen how you can reach Joe to get more insight. Thanks again.